I got too much time. Too much time. I got too much time to be without.
Thank you very much. That was the news, and you're listening to Planet Green Trees. The call number is 1-347-326-9626. We have 1 hour and 13 minutes left, and this is real radio, and I'll tell you why, because I know we've got Curtis Kile on the phone, and Curtis, I see your number. I want you to hold on, but we've got a surprise guest that I want to get on the air and not to make him wait any longer now that I've realized who he is. I think on our phone there's our good friend, could it be George Cushenberry?
Yes, it is. Michael Komorn.
Amazing that I was able to identify the number. And so, I'm so glad you called in. For those that don't know who we're honored to have on our show tonight, George Cushenberry Jr., other than being a good friend of mine, has been a Michigan House of Representatives Democrat for many years. He was the I remember we were actually talking about you a few weeks ago when we were describing the history of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act and the era that we defined as the Renaissance era, when you were in the House of Representatives and were the head of the appropriations, I thought, and were ordering the Department of Community Health to act and demanding people to appear and giving access and voice to the community. It was what we were calling the Renaissance time. This modern era we're living in is a little bit of insanity, but I digress. George also, for those that don't know, has been one of the most, I can't even, ardent advocates for the reform of the marijuana policies in our country, dating back to his college days in the 70s and 60s. So, George, thanks for joining us. I know you're running for a city council in the city of Detroit. Tell us how that's going.
Well, it's going well, Michael. I think people are ready for some honest talk in Detroit about marijuana and about the city finances, and for us to get out of the never lands of having budgets that are passed, that are inflated, that create bigger problems in the end, and have led us to state bankruptcy, which is really what Mr. Orr is. He's the state bankruptcy trustee. You and I have been around long enough to know when we used to have a state and a federal bankruptcy law, and sometimes it was better for people to be able to be under state bankruptcy. But if the people of this city and our friends in our movement get behind me, I'm sure I can get elected in the 2nd District. I'll be able to be someone that will introduce ordinances to carry out the wills of the people. You know, I've been one of Brother Beck's bedrock supporters for many years, dating back to my days on the county commission. And I'm most proud of my defense of medical marijuana patients and others in the various courts of this state. And, Michael, I just want to tell you I appreciate your friendship over the years and your continued investment in our movement to bring some sanity into the national drug laws. The one thing I think that I want to advocate to my president for is for him to revisit the scheduling of marijuana and get it off the schedule with heroin and cocaine and all those other drugs, and to give it its own schedule formulary that's different. And I had introduced a resolution. I never could get it taken up in the House of Representatives in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. And now it seems to me that the Michigan legislature is hostile in most cases to our movement, and the court has not been as generous as I would have liked them to be, but at least they have given us the opportunity to continue to litigate it. So I'm hoping that you'll ask the people in our community, and I do get the chance when I'm with, give a shout out to our friend Richard Clement, who continues to work closely with me, and we listen to Planet Green Trees every once in a while to keep up on what's going on, and he gives me constant reports about what's going on all over the state. And I just want you to know that, if I'm elected to the city council in Detroit, you'll have a real friend on the city council.
I appreciate that, and I want to also give a shout out to Richard. He obviously is a champion for our community as well. And I hope people are listening because the things you're saying are very, very important. I want to ask you one question, and I'll let you go because I know you had a busy campaign schedule to be with. But let me know this. I mean, obviously, City of Detroit in 2004, I think it was, passed a medical marijuana law. A lot of people didn't know that. It overwhelmingly, I think 72%, Wayne County was a county that voted for medical marijuana. Obviously, in 2013, they passed a initiative of the city of Detroit to legalize
2012
adults possessing 1 ounce of marijuana, and there hasn't been a lot of attention drawn to that. Is marijuana has it gotten to the point in the city that it is, is a path or a policy that people see as being positive as opposed to negative, as opposed to the atypical stereotypes that have gone with it? Is Detroit evolving in that direction? Is that an intelligent conversation?
I think it has, and it continues to be a supporter. At one time, we had an ordinance when Mayor Young was around that made it the same kind of an offense as it was in Ann Arbor and East Lansing. But it's been this council who has refused to implement the various ballot questions that have passed and have been hostile to what 66% of the people in the last election voted for here in the city of Detroit. And we have to give Brother Beck a shout-out because he stayed after it. I took a lot of heat in the clergy with my colleagues over it, but I still think it's the wisest thing to do, especially when you have less police manpower. We need to focus our manpower upon not arresting kids with a joint for marijuana. And if you come to the 36th District Court, where I am a lot, as you know, Mike, you will still see way too many tickets written that way. And those police resources need to be redirected, if you will, toward doing investigations for some of the very violent things that we see happening too often in the city. And I think a little more common sense approach to that will make a difference, and I think we will have a lot of friends among those who are running for police commissioner as it stands now.
It seems like it's all set up in a way. It has not permeated the thinking of the politicians to the extent that you can't pass an initiative unless there's a majority vote of some kind. So
66%, Michael, in the city of Detroit last year.
That's what I'm saying. Collectively, the community thinks that it should not be criminalized. And then there's the economic argument for obviously a city that's being challenged on all levels of trying to, generate revenue that is, going to support their budget. I mean, the city of Detroit is challenged right now because the police force has made announcements that you're on your own. If you come to the city, it creates that kind of situation where, that's because the police force is not accessible to deal with the more serious crimes, and they're still getting caught up in petty tickets.
That's right. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think, and I think that this idea that that's the way to go, and for us to continue to try to raise money by taking poor people's cars with this parking situation, and all of these other things that to me remind me of why the Michigan Constitution has a provision that says that we will have no debtors' prisons, so that the judges have to be sensitive to what's going on in the city in terms of people having a lot of financial challenges. And while we're starting to see some uptick in the economy for the auto industry, in too many cases is not trickling down or is not getting to the people who most need it. And we've got to do more about that, because now we're finding out, like we knew in the old days, that really the secret to getting a job, especially in the auto industry or other places where, Michael, all of us who grew up had an uncle, a cousin, a nephew, a brother, or somebody that worked inside of a auto-related plant, we could pass the knowledge on to other family members. And now the grapevine, if you will, has pretty well broken down, and too often the people in the city who could use the opportunities in the various places are not getting them because their networks aren't good. So that's what I really planning to do. When the people of the district send me downtown, I want to make a giant grapevine for the marijuana community, so we can quit having hostile attitudes at the city council table like I've seen over the last 4 years. And two, to implement what the people of this great city have already said would be a wonderful way. Maybe you and I can figure out how we could have the marijuana tax stamp or some other type of a stamp that would meet those federal and state constitutional requirements in order to possess it. I just want to see us have some Renaissance thinking in our city, because our city can grow and prosper, and again, as we have and continue to do, lead the way in so many different ways in healthcare, in pharmaceuticals, in new automobile construction, and I think we're building some great ones now here in Detroit. And then we'll be able to show people how you can use hemp for many different things, like hemp fuel, how we can use hemp cloth to make alternative seating and other sorts of things that will make us even more competitive worldwide. So I appreciate the work that you've been doing. I've been doing a lot of work myself inside the church and other places when they don't throw rocks at me too much for telling the truth. And I think it's just time for us to move on.
I agree, and you know what? You got to it before I was going to mention it, but for another show at another time, let's develop the principles of really a hemp industry. Like that is a more palatable, easy pill to swallow for a government when they see the type of industrial opportunities that happen. That is also a way that you can resurrect some of these cities that have been so challenged. We've got the industry, but we create new industry. There should be a new economic market of farmers and manufacturers of this product that can apply to so many things. So that's the next phase, my friend. And I look forward to battling with you. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, our dear friend and warrior, really of all human rights, George Cushenberry Jr., please keep an eye out for him in this next election. George, we're going to have you back on.
I look forward to it, Michael, and I appreciate your work. Y'all keep up doing it with Planted Green Trees.
Appreciate it, George. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Show gets excited and by surprise every week. And I guess right now we're going to go to Curtis Kile. Is it true that we got you?
Yeah, you guys got me. I'm sorry that it took me so long to get a hold of you. The news media got a hold of me here in Washington, D.C., and they were with me for almost 4 hours. So
good.
I want to thank both of you guys for all your support firsthand, and everyone else that's made this possible. I'm really enthused. I hope that I can speak to the president tomorrow, but if I don't, I know it wasn't a trip made in vain.
No,
we have reached. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Curtis, you certainly feel like you've accomplished quite a bit on this trip, and even if you don't meet with an Obama administration official, it's still been worth all of the effort, right?
Yes, sir. And I do plan to address Congress. They're the next people in my list that I think need to hear this. And if I have to come back to be with them, I will. But I want to thank both you guys very much for everything you've done. And I'm going to keep up the fight. We did get into Washington, D.C. The news channel, they wanted me to go all the way to the White House, so I actually strolled right up to the White House for them, and they were with us for 4 hours. So thanks again. I appreciate all your efforts.
For those of you that weren't listening last week and have maybe been living under a rock, Curtis Kile, of course, has been traveling from Taylor, Michigan to Washington, D.C. with the goal of speaking with the president or now the Congress as a showing of drawing attention to his belief of the legalization of marijuana and the federal government taking its criminal prosecutions off the medical marijuana communities throughout the country and also in Michigan. His father, of course, recently passed away and was an advocate of medical marijuana, and the organization that he had started has been around advocating for patients' rights and policy reform regarding marijuana. The name escapes me, though. It's
UMSOM, United Marijuana Smokers of Michigan.
United Marijuana Smokers of Michigan. And I know that they have a website that people have been contributing to. And Curtis, it was such an honor talking last week, and there's really a lot of attention being drawn to this on a national level. I'm glad to hear that the Washington Press was involved. And I know there was a big article in the Detroit Free Press about your journey.
I got too much time. Too much time. I got too much time to be without love. Too much time.